Hey everyone, welcome back to another update. Today we're covering Tuesday, February 10th and Wednesday, February 11th, a critical 48 hours of hearings, brinkmanship, and high level diplomacy. The key threads include a fiery congressional grilling over immigration deaths and the Epstein files, the DHS shutdown clock hitting critical mass, the House passing the SAVE Act amid election rhetoric fallout, Trump's White House meeting with Netanyahu on Iran talks, fresh trade deals and tariff fights, and more. Let's break it down. The dominant domestic story spanned both days, the Department of Homeland Security funding crisis. With the current stopgap expiring at midnight Friday the 13th, negotiations remained stalled over Democratic demands for ICE and CBP reforms, including judicial warrants in sensitive cases, unmasking agents, body cameras, ending racial profiling, and better local coordination. Tuesday's House Appropriations Homeland Security Subcommittee hearing featuring officials warning of shutdown impacts, potential TSA attrition, delayed CISA cyber rules, disruptions to FEMA disaster response, Coast Guard ops, and more. Republicans pushed back, arguing Democrats are ignoring facts and risking public safety over policy fights. Democrats countered that the Minneapolis ICE surge deaths demand accountability. By Wednesday, lawmakers were openly preparing for a lapse. DHS could tap some prior year funds for law enforcement pay, but airports, cybersecurity, and emergency services would feel pain quickly. Senate talks showed no breakthrough, as a short-term CR looked unlikely without concessions. This fight is now a midterm flashpoint, with public backlash over enforcement tactics giving Democrats leverage. On to the House committee hearings. Tuesday's high-profile House Oversight Committee hearing saw DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, Border Czar Tom Homan, and CBP leaders defend the mass deportation push. Democrats pressed hard on use of force, lack of coordination, and the fatal shootings in Minneapolis, with one lawmaker comparing tactics to historical overreach. Officials remained defiant, highlighting criminal removals and accusing critics of obstruction. The U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services revealed a 138% increase in criminal fraud referrals to law enforcement, and ICE Director Todd Lyons announced that so far, 7,000 suspected gang members and 1,400 known or suspected terrorists have been arrested. Wednesday brought more heat. Attorney General Pam Bondi clashed with House Democrats and Judiciary over Epstein files handling, accusations of inappropriate redactions, Ghislaine Maxwell's Fifth Amendment refusal and clemency appeal, and fallout from unredacted reviews. These sessions amplified partisan trenches, immigration as a liability versus enforcement as necessary, and Epstein transparency versus protection of sources. While handling of the Epstein files has been a mess, I do want to repeat some statistics Bondi provided, which are that 1,700 child predators have been arrested, a 10% increase from 2024, 2,700 victims of child exploitation have been found, and 3.8 million dark web pedophile accounts have been shut down. Switching to election integrity. The House passed the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility, or SAVE Act, on Wednesday, requiring proof of citizenship for voter registration, part of Trump's push against voter fraud. Speaker Mike Johnson hailed it post-vote. This ties into ongoing rhetoric. Trump calls to nationalize elections drew rare pushback from allies like Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who defended state control. Warnings grew about potential 2026 chaos, FBI Georgia election office raids tied to fraud claims, and broader concerns over federal overreach. Democrats framed it as subverting democracy, Republicans as fraud prevention. Congressman Chip Roy provided a list of over 100 illegal aliens that were caught voting in American elections, and citizen journalist David Kate exposed that people are illegally registered to vote in Fulton County, Georgia, at a juror parking lot, a youth homeless shelter, empty lots, construction sites, and a park, with 205 people registered to vote at a shelter with only 60 beds. Let's turn the spotlight to foreign policy. President Trump hosted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House on Wednesday, with the top agenda item being U.S.-Iran indirect nuclear talks in Oman. Trump reaffirmed pursuing negotiations, but warned Iran of very tough consequences without concessions on nuclear, missiles, and proxies. Netanyahu pressed for no narrow nuclear-only deal, sharing intel on Iran's ballistic missile reconstitution. Iran's top security official visited Oman on Tuesday and Wednesday to relay positions. Both sides called initial talks a good start, with more expected soon. Trump suggested a second carrier deployment amid regional buildup. Meanwhile, Energy Secretary Chris Wright visited Caracas, the highest level U.S. trip to Venezuela in decades, seeking prosperity and security post Maduro ally capture. Now it's time for the noteworthy tidbits, which are brought to you today by Old Glory. Let me tell you about them quick. Are you looking for a gift for a music lover, or maybe some apparel to show off your quirky side? Old Glory has you covered. With over 300,000 officially licensed items covering music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture, you're guaranteed to find the perfect item. They even have seasonal gear. My husband enjoys the Beatles and Led Zeppelin apparel, and I love the Billy Idol apparel. I even found items for my fellow plant enthusiasts. This family-owned superstore is known for their quality and customer service, offers free standard shipping on all orders, and orders are shipped the same day you purchase. My discount code gives you 15% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit oldglory.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. All right, let's get back to the tidbits. President Trump signed an executive order directing military electricity purchase from coal plants during a Champion of Coal event touting energy security. The House voted to rebuke Trump's Canada tariffs and threatened to block a new U.S.-Canada bridge opening over trade grievances. President Trump used tariffs to secure new trade agreements with India, El Salvador, Guatemala, Argentina, and Bangladesh. A D.C. grand jury refused to indict Democrats over their seditious illegal orders video. President Trump sued the IRS and Treasury over $10 billion for past tax info leaks. The House Ethics Committee took over the investigation into Representative Ilhan Omar's net worth spike of millions of dollars. Fox News reported that two men from Pennsylvania admitted to $3.5 million in fraud from Minnesota's public housing program. President Trump posted a report that claims Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff worked together to leak classified information to trigger an investigation that would overthrow the Trump administration. Vice President Vance became the first ever vice president to visit Armenia in a historic visit tied to U.S. brokered peace efforts between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and while there he signed a strategic partnership agreement with Azerbaijan. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem signed the final contract to purchase steel for more border wall construction. Washington County, Maryland announced full support in a unanimous vote for ICE buying a 825,000 square foot warehouse to house illegal aliens. The U.S. military is sending 200 troops to Nigeria to train local forces to defend themselves from Islamists slaughtering Christians. The job numbers came in twice what was expected. The Trump administration abolished the Obama-era requirements for environmental features in cars, such as stop-start. The FAA suddenly shut off airspace around El Paso for special security reasons, originally for 10 days, but the closure was lifted shortly after. Apparently, the closure occurred so that the Department of War could disable Mexican cartel drones that breached U.S. airspace. President Trump signed a law banning improper federal payments to dead people, permanently allowing data sharing to ensure the funds can be recovered. Lastly, First Lady Melania made Valentine's Day cards with children at the Children's Inn at the National Institutes of Health. That's all I have for today. That's February 10th and 11th in focus. The DHS deadline dominates domestically, while Iran diplomacy and election fights add global and long-term stakes. Will Friday bring a shutdown, a narrow deal, or escalation? Share your thoughts on Instagram or X at Shades of Jade Pod. If these rundowns are keeping you on track, subscribe, review, and share. Thank you for listening and have a great day.